Hello friends, welcome to this online refresher course that is a concerns in educational research and assessment under ARPIT 2019. I am Arvind Kumar Jha from Baba Sahab Bhimrao Ambedkar University, Lucknow, and extending my greetings to you all on behalf of National Resource Center for Education, that is NRC for Education, Central University of South Bihar, Gaya. I am here to discuss with you on a very important and relevant topic, that is a grounded theory methodology. We will discuss this topic in different parts. In first part, we shall talk about number 1, genesis of grounded theory as a research method, the logic of grounded theory and when to use it. The third, what is grounded theory and types of grounded theory designs. Then I'll be talking about when to use grounded theory, what are the features of grounded theory, and also I'll be talking about theoretical sampling and theoretical sensitivity. And finally, I'll be talking in this part theoretical sampling and comparing. The next part of this discussion will focus upon data analysis in grounded theory, stages of analysis involved in grounded theory, coding in grounded theory designs such as open coding, axial coding, selective coding and theoretical coding. I will be also talking about memming and memo writing. I will also talk about grounded theory as a 4 steps process. Then I will move on to procedure for conducting grounded theory and common misconceptions and how to evaluate grounded theory research. Let us start the first part of discussion, and the objective of first part are, after completing the sessions, you will be able to understand the genesis of grounded theory as a research method, the logic of grounded theory and when to use it. You will be able to understand what is a grounded theory, types of grounded theory designs, etc. You will also be able to understand when to use grounded theory, what are important features of grounded theory. You will be able to understand theoretical sampling and theoretical sensitivity, and finally theoretical sampling and comparing. Now, firstly, let us talk about genesis of grounded theory as a research method and the logic of grounded theory and when to use it. Then, what is grounded theory, types of grounded theory designs, when to use grounded theory, features of grounded theory, theoretical sampling and theoretical sensitivity, and theoretical sampling and comparing. Let's first talk about the genesis of grounded theory. Historically, genesis of grounded theory goes back to 1960s, which was constructed in a sociological context by Glasses and Strauss as a counterpart to the positivistic paradigm. It was developed by Glasses and Strauss during their study called awareness of dying. It is a general methodology for developing the theory that is grounded in data, which is systematically gathered and analyzed. Their aim for grounded theory was to emphasize theory development instead of theory testing and to provide a method for developing theory grounded in data from a systematic qualitative approach. Glasses and Strauss approach has inspired the work of generations of qualitative researchers and continues to be an influence today because of divergent opinions on basic grounded theory approach. Glasses and Strauss parted ways in the early 1970s, Glasses continued to elaborate classic grounded theory as it first developed, while Strauss continued his work with Calvin in a more qualitative direction. Grounded theory methodology has continued to grow to this day with inspiration from many new grounded theory researchers such as Morse, such as Stern, then Clark. However, Glasser and former student Kathy Charms, with her social constructivist approach, has been the most influential grounded theory approach since Glasser and Strauss. Grounded theory is considered a qualitative approach because of its use of qualitative method in data collection and data analysis. However, grounded theory has distinctive features which separate the approach from other qualitative methodologies such as phenomenology, hermeneutics, and ethnographic due to differences in ontology and epistemology. The distinctive features include the constant comparative method, theoretical sampling, memo writing, as well as simultaneous and parallel data collection, analysis, and coding. Now, I'll be talking about the logic of grounded theory. Grounded theory is a logically consistent set of data collection and analytic procedures aimed to develop theory. Grounded theory methods consist of a set of inductive strategies for analyzing data. That means you start with individual cases, incidents, or experiences and develop progressively more abstract conceptual categories to synthesize, to explain, and to understand your data and to identify patterned relationship within it. You begin with an area to study. Then you build your theoretical analysis on what you discover is relevant in the actual worlds that you study within this area. Now friends, I'll be talking about what is grounded theory. There is no simple answer to the question, as the term grounded theory adheres to different research elements. In the first place, grounded theory is a methodology which is characterized by the iterative process and the interrelatedness of planning, data collection, data analysis, and theory development. Friends, grounded theory further provides a particular set of systematic methods which support abstraction, I repeat, which support abstraction from the data in order to develop a theory that is grounded in the empirical data. These methods include different coding procedures which are based on the method of constant comparison. New data are gathered continuously and new cases are included in the analysis based on their potential contribution to the further development and refinement of the evidence theory. This sampling method is called theoretical sampling. The iterative process of data collection according to theoretical sampling, data analysis, and theory development is continued until new data do not contribute any longer to a substantial development of the theory. That is, until theoretical saturation is achieved. Theoretical saturation, I repeat, is achieved. The theory that is the product of the process is also referred to as grounded theory. The quality of a grounded theory is not evaluated according to the standard criteria of test theory, that is objectivity, reliability, and validity, but according to criteria such as credibility, plausibility, and trustworthiness. Therefore, it is to study a particular environment to generate or discover a theory that describes it. It is a research design used for qualitative research. For example, understanding the meaning of inclusion from the perspective of the special needs student, the regular student, and the teacher. A grounded theory study discovers or generates a theory. What is a theory now? That's very important to understand. A theory is a set of propositions that pertain to a specific experiences, situation, or setting. The contextual sensitivity of the theory is the basis for suggesting the theory is grounded in the field data. Construction of theories is done through methodological gathering and analysis of data. A grounded theory design is a systematic qualitative procedure used to generate a theory that explains at a broad conceptual level a process, an action, or an interaction about a substantive topic. Grounded theory is a research method which enables the researcher to develop a theory which offers an explanation about the main concerns of the population of substantive area and how that concern is resolved or processed. Grounded theory is a research tool which enables you to seek out and conceptualize the latent social pattern and structures of your area of interest through the process of consistent comparison. It is the study of a concept. It is not a descriptive study of a descriptive problem. Friends, let me reassert that the methodology was developed, as stated earlier, by Glasser and Strauss as a reaction against the extreme positivism that had permeated most social research. They disputed the view that the social and natural sciences dealt with the same type of subject matter. Specifically, Glasser and Strauss challenged prevalent assumptions of grand theory, the notion that the purpose of social research is to uncover pre-existing and universal explanations of social behavior. In making their challenge, both looked to the pragmatism of Charles Sanders Peirce and early symbolic interactions, particularly George Howard Mead and Charles Cooley, each of whom rejected the notion that scientific truth reflects an independent external reality. Instead, they argued that scientific truth results from both the act of observation and the emerging consensus within a community of observers as they make sense of what they have observed. In this pragmatic approach to social science research, empirical reality is seen as the ongoing interpretation of meaning produced by individuals engaged in a common project of observation. They proposed grounded theory as a practical method for conducting research and focuses on the interpretive process by analyzing that the actual production of meanings and concepts used by social actors in real settings. They argued that new theory could be developed by paying careful attention to the contrast between the daily realities, what is actually going on, of substantive area, and the interpretation of those daily realities made by those who participate in them, that is, the actors. They also rejected positivist notion of falsification and hypothesis testing and instead described an organic process of theory emergence based on how well data fit conceptual categories identified an observer, by how well the categories explain or predict ongoing interpretations, and by how relevant the categories are to the core issues being observed. Most significantly, Glasser and Strauss offered a compromise between extreme empiricism and complete relativism by articulating a middle ground in which systematic data collection could be used to develop theories that address the interpretive realities of actors in social settings. This method, described by Glasser and Strauss, is built upon two key concepts: constant comparison, in which data are collected and analyzed simultaneously, and theoretical sampling, in which decisions about which data should be collected next are determined by the theory that is being constructed. Both concepts violate long-standing positivist assumptions about how the research process should work. Constant comparison contradicts the myth of a clean separation between data collection and data analysis. Theoretical sampling violates the ideal of hypothesis testing in that the direction of new data collection is determined not by a priori hypothesis but by ongoing interpretation of data and emerging conceptual categories. Friends, grounded theory, therefore, is a method that is more appropriate for some questions than others. Clearly, it is most suited to efforts to understand the process by which actors construct meaning out of subjective experience. Grounded theory should also be used in a way that is logically consistent with key assumptions about social reality and how that reality is known. It is less appropriate, for example, to use grounded theory when you seek to make knowledge claims about an objective reality, and more appropriate to do so when you want to make knowledge claims about how individuals interpret reality. In short, grounded theory is a research method concerned with the generation of theory, which is grounded in data that has been systematically collected and analyzed. It is used to uncover such things as social relationships and behaviors of groups, known as social processes. Now friends, I'll be talking very interesting topic under this topic, that is when to use grounded theory. Many people wonder, many researchers wonder. Friends, when you need a broad theory or explanation of a process, you need grounded theory. Especially helpful when current theories about a phenomenon are either inadequate or non-existent. When you wish to study some process, such as how average students develop as a profound scholar, research problems, broad general questions that focus on what happened to people, why they believed it happened, and what it means to them. Obtaining data in depth and unstructured interviews, data analysis, constant comparison, information from interviews is compared to emerging theme as a part of the more encompassing theory. The strategies of grounded theory is to take the interpretation of meaning in social interaction on broad and study the interrelationship between meaning in the perception of the subjects and their action. Symbolic interactionism is considered to be one of the most important theories to have influenced on grounded theory. Symbolic interaction asserts that we understand the world by interpreting human interaction, which occurs through the use of symbols such as language, verbal and non-verbal. Of course, the area of interest is identified. Theoretical preconceptions should be avoided, although it is accepted that it is difficult in practice. Analytical precision and sampling strategies are then used, and the study is finished when theoretical sampling is reached. Data collection may be qualitative or quantitative or a combination of both. Data collection methods often includes in-depth interviews using open-ended questions. Questions can be adjusted as theory emerges. Observational methods and focus groups may also be used. Now friends, I'll be talking about the features of grounded theory. The first important feature of grounded theory is that data collection and analysis occur simultaneously. The second one, categories and analytic codes developed from data, pre-existing conceptualization not to be used, and this is known as a theoretical sensitivity. Theoretical sampling used to refine the categories. The fourth feature is that abstract categories constructed inductively, social processes discovered in the data, analytical memos used between coding and writing, and last but not the least, categories integrated into a theoretical framework. Friends, now I'll be talking about theoretical sampling and theoretical sensitivity. Both are very, very important component if you are planning to apply grounded theory. Glasses and Strauss first mentioned theoretical sampling and described a process of gathering theory from data, which includes collecting the data, then coding and analyzing the data. Next, the researcher makes a conscious decision about what further detail they feel is exploring as the new theory develops. It usually takes place after some initial key concepts or categories have been identified. For example, you might decide to interview students about their experience of learning or examination. They may talk about their individual lived experiences. From this analysis of the data, you may decide to approach and interview them to explore their views on learning or examination. Theoretical sampling, therefore, is used to produce more data to endorse or refuse the categories and have been identified in the previous analysis. As far as the theoretical sensitivity is concerned, friends, let me assert that the theoretical sensitivity refers to the insight of the researcher. It concerns the researcher being able to give meaning to data, understand what the data says, and being able to separate out what is relevant and what is not. By being theoretically sensitive and using insight, the researcher is able to develop a theory that is grounded, theoretically dense, and cohesive. Sensitivity comes from several sources, including literature. In-depth reading offers a rich understanding of the phenomenon being studied. Professional and personal experience offers an understanding of the events and topics being explored. The analytic process allows for insight and understanding of the phenomena. Let us discuss it further. When starting to work with grounded theory, there is no fixed theory at hand with which to evaluate the data. On the contrary, the researcher moves into an open field of study with many unclear aspects. As described above, important concepts are missing and/or their relationship is not elaborated enough. The longer the researcher will have worked in this field, the clearer those unclear aspects will hopefully become. In order to make sense of the data, an important ability of the researcher is theoretically sensitivity. The notion of theoretical sensitivity is closely linked to grounded theory, and Glasser even devoted a whole book to this issue, and he published it in 1978. Corbin and Strauss describe sensitivity as having insights as well as being tuned into and being able to pick up on relevant issues, events, and happenings during collection and analysis of the data. According to Glasser, with the assistance of Halton, the essence of theoretical sensitivity is the ability to generate concepts from data and to relate them according to normal models of theory in general. They further sum up a number of single abilities that characterize the theoretical sensitivity of a researcher. These are the personal and temperamental bent to maintain analytical distance, tolerate confusion and regression while remaining open, trusting to preconscious processing and to conceptual emergence, the ability to develop theoretical insight into the area of research combined with the ability to make something of these insights, and the ability to conceptualize and organize, make abstract connections, visualize, and think multivariately. The options about how a researcher might develop theoretical sensitivity differ between the two founders of grounded theory and are in fact one of the main differences between their approaches. While Glasser, with the assistance of Holter, suggests that the first step in gaining theoretical sensitivity is to enter the research setting with as few predetermined ideas as possible. Strass and Cowen name different sources of theoretical sensitivity, such as these are respective literature, the professional and personal experience of the researcher, as well as the analytical process itself. However, the researcher is not supposed to follow the beaten track of the literature or his or her personal experience, but to question these and go beyond in order to get novel theoretical insight. In Basics of Qualitative Research, Strass and Cowen describe techniques to foster theoretical sensitivity. These are questioning, analyzing single words, phrases, or sentences, and comparing thus techniques which pervades grounded theory in general. Friends, now I'll be talking about theoretical sampling and comparing. Two analytical processes contribute to raising categories to conceptual categories. Constant comparison, which is central in generating grounded theory, and theoretical sampling. Both of these processes are achieved through a process Glasser calls theoretical sampling and the selective sampling of the literature. Essentially, the researcher needs to confront the conceptual categories with more data in order to define them carefully, delineate their properties, explicate their causes, and demonstrate the conditions under which they operate, and spell out their consequences. The constant comparative is central to the data analysis in gathering grounded theory. Friends, the purpose is to build and clarify a category by examining all the data it covers and variations from it. The researcher takes a limited set of codes that were developed in the initial phase and applies them to large amounts of data. The coded data are compared with other data and assigned to clusters or categories according to obvious fit. Glasser labels this process of comparison as the constant comparative method, where bits of data are compared with other data and where coded data is constantly confronted with new data for verification purposes. Comparative analysis forces the researcher to tease out the emerging category by searching for its structure, temporality, cause, context, dimensions, consequences, and its relationship to other categories. Additionally, it is appropriate and desirable to compare the data categories and constructs that emerge between various groups of participants in this study. In this way, the process of constant comparison is intended to generate a theory rich in detail. It moves the researcher more quickly away from describing the specificities of a case to thinking more abstractly about what the various cases share in common and what is different about them. Theoretical sampling begins during the data collection phase of the study and involves searching the transcripts for emerging categories that characterize the narrative and seem significant. Theoretical sampling is the process of data collection for generating theory whereby the analyst jointly collects, codes, and analyzes data and decides what data to collect next and where to find them in order to develop theory as it emerges. This process of data collection is controlled by the emerging theory, whether substantive or formal. Theoretical sampling primary function is to provide the researcher with the opportunity to discover properties of the core variable under study by collecting new data to check, fill out, and extend conceptual categories. Theoretical sampling and constant comparison reflect cyclical processes which are fluid and flexible, but at the same time, they ensure that the analysis is planned and well grounded in the data, rather than haphazard, which can lead the analyst down to unproductive paths and away from the focus of a study. Maximizing opportunities for comparing concepts along their properties for similarities and differences enables researcher to densify categories, to differentiate among them, and to specify their range of variability. Once the analyst has some categories, sampling is almost at developing, densifying, and saturating those categories. It is also related to the sensitivity that a researcher has developed to the emerging concepts. The more sensitive a researcher is to the theoretical relevance of certain concepts, the more likely he or she is to recognize indicators of those concepts in the data. Sensitivity usually grows throughout the research project and enables the researcher to describe what concepts to look for and where he might find indicators of them. As constructs are derived from the data, repeated theoretical sampling can be used to increase the depth of focus and to ensure consistency, that is, to ensure that data are gathered in a systematic way for each category. Friends, theoretical sampling is used as a way of checking on the emerging conceptual framework rather than being used for the verification of preconceived hypotheses. After developing a set of focused codes into categories, the researcher has to weave them together in developing a grounded theory. The emerged grounded categories derived from the data are the basic building blocks for the theoretical understanding of the area under study. The conceptual framework developed from the conceptual categories is tested by collecting data which provides support or not for the framework hypotheses and reveals the relationship between the categories, which forms the basis for the subsequent emergent theory. Friends, now I'll be talking about when to stop sampling. That's very important in grounded theory research methodology. An important issue in reaching closer is when to stop sampling. Ideally, researchers should stop sampling when theoretical saturation is reached. I repeat, when theoretical saturation is reached. Theoretical saturation is the point at which incremental learning is minimal because the researcher is observing phenomena seen before. The general rule when building theory is to gather data until each category is saturated. This means until A. No new or relevant data system to emerge regarding a category. B. The category is well developed in terms of its properties and dimensions, demonstrating variations. And C. The relationships among categories are well established and validated. Unless a researcher gathers data until all categories are saturated, the theory will not be evenly developed and it will lack density and precision. So friends, in this part of the discussion, we discussed about genesis of grounded theory as a research method, the logic of grounded theory and when to use it, and what is grounded theory and types of grounded theory designs, when to use grounded theory, features of grounded theory, theoretical sampling and theoretical sensitivity, and theoretical sampling and comparing. This is all about this part. I hope that you have enjoyed the session. Once again, we shall meet in the next part of the presentation, in which we shall discuss data analysis in grounded theory, stages of analysis, coding in grounded theory designs such as open coding, axial coding, selective coding, and theoretical coding. We are also talking about meming and memo writing, grounded theory as 4 steps process, procedure for conducting grounded theory, common misconceptions and evaluation of grounded theory research. And I'll also conclude with my understanding. Thanks for watching this video. Namaskar.